Good morning, dear students. Today we will continue our chapter 3, Weather and Climate. In the last video, you learned the difference between weather and climate. Today, we will learn about the factors that affect the climate. So let's start. The first thing that affects the climate of a place is latitude. That is called distance from the equator. Places near the equator are hotter than places far from the equator. Do you know the reason? Why does it happen so? Look at the figure. It shows that the sun rays are falling vertically over the equator. They are spread over a small area. In the polar regions, the sun rays are slanting, as you can see in the picture. They are spread on a larger area. Hence, places near the equator receive more heat and are hotter. So, I hope it is clear to you. The area near the equator is more hot and the area near the poles, the areas near the poles have cold climate. Do you know people who study climate are called climatologists? Earlier we had learned the people who study weather conditions are called meteorologists and the people who study climate are called climatologists. Depending upon the amount of heat received, there are three heat zones. As you have already known that the area near the equator is the hottest zone. So let's learn about the three heat zones of the earth. They are divided according to the amount of heat received by them. So children, the first zone is torrid zone. On both sides of the equator, the region lying between the Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn is called the torrid zone. This area, the green area, is known as torrid zone. It is above equator and below equator, and it is between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. This zone gets the direct rays of the sun all the year around. Hence, the climate is hot and humid. Next is temperate zone. This region is neither hot nor very cold. It lies between torrid zone and the frigid zone in both hemispheres. You can see in the diagram here it is temperate zone. It is north temperate zone and it is south temperate zone. So, it is between Tropic of Capricorn and Antarctic Circle, and the north temperate zone is between Arctic Circle and Tropic of Cancer. Next one is frigid zone. The region lying between the Arctic Circle and North Pole. The region lying between the Arctic Circle and North Pole is called frigid zone, and the region between the Antarctic Circle and South Pole is called the frigid zone. This is North frigid zone and this is South frigid zone. It receives very slanting rays of the sun and is therefore very cold. So the frigid zone is the coldest zone, and which is the hottest zone? Obviously the torrid zone is the hottest zone. Next factor is altitude or height above the sea level. Do you know why people go to hill stations in summers? The higher we go, the cooler it becomes. It is because temperature falls with height gained. जैसे जैसे हम सी लेवल से हाइट पर जाते हैं, द टेम्परेचर फॉल्स, द टेम्परेचर इज लेस, इट इज कॉल्ड इन द हाई माउंटेन्स, और इसलिए हाई माउंटेन्स में टेम्परेचर लो होता है एंड द वेदर, द क्लाइमेट इज कोल्ड बिकॉज माउंटेन्स आर लोकेटेड एट अ हाई एल्टीट्यूड. Ludhiana and Shimla are at the same distance from the equator. Dear children, you can see in this map Ludhiana. Here is Ludhiana and here is Shimla, and you can see they are at the equal distance from equator. The first point we had read that the distance from equator also decides the heat of the heat of a particular part of the earth. So here you can see Ludhiana and Shimla are at equal distance from equator. Still, Shimla is cold while Ludhiana is hot in summers. Can you tell the reason? Can you tell the reason why does it happen so? Shimla is located 2150 meters above the sea level, whereas Ludhiana is only 250 meters above the sea level, because Shimla has more height above the sea level than Ludhiana. That's why Shimla is cooler than Ludhiana. Next is wind. Third factor is wind. Winds affect the climate of a place they blow to. जिस जगह से विंड चलती है और जिस एरिया में वो जाती है उस एरिया को अफेक्ट करती है. Winds coming from the hot areas increase the temperature of the place they blow to. जिस एरिया से winds अगर आ रही हैं and that area is hot, तो जिस एरिया में वो पहुंचेंगी that area will also be hot. While winds coming from the cold areas lower the temperature of the place they blow to. और अगर winds हमारी नॉर्दर्न माउंटेन से आ रही हैं हमारे नॉर्दर्न प्लेन्स की तरफ, तो डेफिनेटली they will decrease the temperature of. Yes, dear students, let's continue from the distance from the sea. The fourth factor that affects the climate of a place is distance from the sea. Places situated near the coasts are neither too hot nor too cold. If you visit coastal areas, so you know very well they have moderate climate. They have a moderate climate. It is called equable climate also. What is the reason for this? Do you know? This is because of the land and sea breezes. The climate of that place is so because of land and sea breezes. In the daytime, the sun heats both the land and the sea. During the daytime, the sun heats both the land and the sea. दोनों ही ज़मीन और पानी दोनों गर्म हो जाते हैं. Land heats up more quickly than the water, and you know very well the land is, it is more easy for the land to heat up rather than the water. Hence, it is hotter than the sea, and that's why the land is hotter than the sea. As you know, hot air is lighter than the cold air. आपको पता है कि hot air जो है वो cold air से light होती है. That's why आपने देखा होगा कि when your mother makes paranthas in the kitchen, so the hot air rises up towards the exhaust fan. So, therefore, warm air above the land rises. The warm air, जो land के ऊपर warm air होती है वो ऊपर की तरफ जाती है. The cool air from the sea comes in to take its place. और जो cool air है वो sea की तरफ से land की तरफ आती है. This is known as sea breeze. और इसको हम क्या बोलते हैं? We call it sea breeze. So it cools the land near the coast. और coast के पास जो land होती है उसको cool करती है. And that's why it is called sea breeze. During the daytime, there is sea breeze in the coastal areas. At night, the opposite happens. The land cools down more quickly than the sea. At night, what happens? The land that had warmed up very quickly during the day, it cools down more quickly than the sea. जो लैंड होती है वो गर्म भी जल्दी हो जाती है और ठंडी भी जल्दी हो जाती है इन कंपैरिजन टू वाटर. वाटर जो है वो पानी गर्म होने में भी टाइम लेता है और ठंडा होने में भी. द सी कूल्स डाउन स्लोली. द एयर अबव द सी इज वार्मर एंड राइजेस. अब जो सी के ऊपर वाली एयर होती है वो वार्म हो जाती है और वो ऊपर की तरफ जाती है, जैसा कि दिन में लैंड के साथ था. द कूलर एयर फ्रॉम द लैंड ब्लोज टूवर्ड्स द सी. और जो कूल एयर है अब वो लैंड से सी की तरफ आती है और इसको हम क्या बुलाते हैं? वी कॉल इट द लैंड ब्रीज. एट नाइट देयर इज लैंड ब्रीज. ड्यूरिंग द डे देयर इज सी ब्रीज क्योंकि वो सी की तरफ से आती है, एंड एट नाइट इट इज लैंड ब्रीज बिकॉज वो लैंड की तरफ से सी की तरफ आती है. Due to land and sea breezes, the weather near the sea is pleasant. और लैंड और सी ब्रीज की वजह से जो वेदर है, जो क्लाइमेट है कोस्टल एरियाज का, वो काफ़ी प्लेजेंट होता है. नेक्स्ट इज ह्यूमिडिटी. द अमाउंट ऑफ वाटर वेपर इन द एयर is called the humidity. What is humidity? The amount of water vapor in the air. एयर में जो मॉइस्चर होता है उसको हम ह्यूमिडिटी बुलाते हैं. ह्यूमिडिटी अफेक्ट्स द क्लाइमेट ऑफ अ प्लेस. किसी भी जगह का क्लाइमेट वहाँ की ह्यूमिडिटी से अफेक्ट होता है. द विंड्स ब्लोइंग फ्रॉम सी टू लैंड ब्रिंग अ लॉट ऑफ मॉइस्चर विद देम. There is lot of moisture in the winds that blow from coastal areas, sea areas. That's why जो winds अरेबियन सी से हमारे नॉर्दर्न प्लेन्स की तरफ आती है, they create rain. They just bring rain with them, and there is monsoon in our northern plains. They make the climate in the coastal areas very humid. और इसी वजह से जो क्लाइमेट है कोस्टल एरियाज का वो काफ़ी ह्यूमिड होता है. ओशियन करंट्स. Oceans have warm and cold currents. Oceans have warm and cold currents. These currents affect the climate of the coastal areas. Oceans में cold current होते हैं and warm current होते हैं और इसी की वजह से करंट्स जो हैं वो क्लाइमेट ऑफ कोस्टल एरियाज़ को अफेक्ट करते हैं. उसकी वजह से कोस्टल एरियाज़ का क्लाइमेट गर्म या ठंडा होता है. वार्म ओशन करंट्स मेक द कोस्टल एरियाज वार्मर. अगर वार्म ओशन करंट हैं तो उस एरिया के, उस कोस्टल एरियाज में वार्म क्लाइमेट होगा. वेयर एज कोल्ड ओशन करंट्स मेक द कोस्टल एरियाज कूल. यू कैन सी देयर आर मैनी hot and cold currents in the world map. So in blue color you can see there are cold currents, and in red color there are hot currents. So these are ocean currents and they also affect the climate of coastal areas. So that was all about the factors affecting the climate of a place. See you in the next class, dear children. Have a wonderful day.